going to give a little. Maharaj does not need any introduction. Hey, but we can run this, and many philanthropic work back home is due to the graciousness of Vivekanandaji and Atmajnananandaji. So Maharaj had the privilege to serve his guru, Shahanandaji, and he directed me, and it's a small part in Bangladesh, Habiganj district, and we started this project, Sri Ramakrishna Sevashram, where Swami Shahanandaji was born, and by Thakur's grace, Maharaj's cooperations, it has been completed. It's a big project. Many of us went. There were 33 Swamis from all across the world, and was March 5th we opened. It could not happen without the generosity of Atmajnananandaji. So Maharaj, I don't know how to say, what to say, we cannot thank you. And it has been a really blessings for all the villagers. And we found out this is the largest village in Asia. 170,000 people live in one village. And now we got a brahmachari, and he is working with kids. So all these kids who never knew of Thakur Swamiji, they are coming, they are learning. And the other big parts, Maharaj has traveled almost every single part of Bangladesh as well as many parts of India since 1974. And this year we were able to cover 1,600 kids from 152 Ramakrishna missions in both sides of Bangladesh and India with the Vivekananda scholarship. And those kids, it's not about money, but it's about when they get a scholarship from New York, their morale goes up. And also, when we're giving this scholarship to the girls, they get kind of social security that other people basically look them up instead of looking them down. So this is a project I work with Maharaj, and we are really, really fortunate. We're in the basement. Maharaj is coming, and all of the Swamis are coming, and this is the best gift. And every year Maharaj comes for quite a few years. It's a gift for Pratham. He had a program last night. He was tired. Still, he came. And one of the family, Chatterjee family, Junudi and Somnadda, they brought him. So we are thankful to them. And Pratham, please give Maharaj flowers and do the pranam. So we will hear tonight. Maharaj has a special book, Sri Ramakrishna Bhava Prabha. So he is very fond of this book. So he will speak. He will read, he will translate, and also Maharaj we are celebrating Holy Mother's birthday as well as Christmas.
Okay.
And so we want to welcome Maharaj with the flowers.
Introduction, and thanks to the kids for the singing, and it's always nice to be here. I feel very much at home with this group. Sometimes we have to speak in great universities and with the highly intellectual things and everything, and I don't enjoy it nearly as much as with just good, solid devotees, those who have that love for Thakur Swamiji. This is the best joy for me to speak to a group like this. Most of you know that Christmas Eve is a very special time in the Ramakrishna order, that you could almost say that the monastic order was founded on Christmas Eve. The incident took place in a village called Antpur, which is somewhere between Kolkata and Kamarpur. It was the village home of Swami Premananda Baburam Maharaj. Baburam Maharaj is very important also for Bangladesh. I don't know how many of you realize it, but Swami Vivekananda said to him, Baburam Da, I've left East Bengal for you. And Swami Premananda made several trips there. He was hugely popular. Whenever he would leave Bangladesh, there would be tears in everyone's eyes. Hindus and Muslims both Muslim population, Hindu population, they all loved him so much. He especially had a very wonderful visit with Maiman Singh one time. If you go there, you can see the place where he spoke and where he stayed. Swami Brahmananda was there also. Anyhow, after the death of Sri Ramakrishna in 1886, Baburam Maharaj's mother, who was a great devotee of Sri Ramakrishna, invited him with some of the brother disciples to come and spend some time in their village home in Atmajnananandaji. So Swamiji and Swami Brahmananda, many of them went. They were not Swamis at that time, but they had taken vows to lead a monastic type of life. One night when they were there, it was a little cold out. They decided to have a fire dhuni. And then they thought, like good sadhus, we'll sit around dhuni, we'll meditate. So they lit this fire. They're sitting around and meditating. And all of a sudden, Swamiji got very inspired and started talking about the life of Christ and the disciples and how they renounced everything. They had no place to lay their head, and they renounced everything for truth and for God, and very inspired. So they all said, we'll also take that vow of renunciation. And then they got their first names at that time. Swami Brahmananda, Swami Ramakrishnananda, Swami Premananda, many of them took their names. Swamiji wanted the name Ramakrishnananda, but Shashi Maharaj served Thakur so much that he said, you deserve that name. Swamiji himself, we don't know what name, he changed names at different times. He was Satchidananda, he was Vivekananda, finally settled for Vivekananda at one time. They had no idea the day. The next morning they found out that it was Christmas Eve. So we look upon Christmas Eve, Christmas, as a very special time within the Ramakrishna order. Another fact that we don't think about very much, when Swamiji was in Kanyakumari, and he swam out to the rock and spent 2-3 days there all by himself, and then had the vision of Thakur beckoning him to go to the West. That's when he decided that he would take his mission to the United States. That also was over this December 25th. We don't know which day exactly, but those 2-3 days would have also been at Christmas time. And of course, Thakur himself, we know, had the vision of Mother Mary and baby Jesus, and had a great conviction that Jesus was also divine incarnation avatar. So within the Christian tradition, we have two very important elements. One is the message, and the other is the messenger. So we have the teachings of Christ, also the personality of Christ. So we find in so many traditions, within our tradition also, we have the personality of Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother, and also their teachings. And sometimes we wonder, how important is it for us to look upon Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, as an avatar? Or how important is it to follow their teachings? Can we do one or the other? Do we have to do both together? Swamiji himself never pushed too much this idea that everyone has to say Thakur is an avatar. It's more important that we follow his teachings. This is all background because Prakash mentioned this book, and I've been reading it slowly. It's all articles and lectures that were written and given by Swami Vivekananda Maharaj. He was vice president and president of our order for a long time. He probably made more visits to Bangladesh than any of our Indian sadhus. And I don't know, maybe some of you were also his disciples. He initiated many people in Bangladesh, and was a wonderful, wonderful Swami. I had my Brahmacharya and Sannyas Diksha from this Swami Vivekananda. A very loving soul, but also a very deep insight and very sensitive way of understanding and explaining everything, in addition to a fantastic sense of humor. So I was reading this book, and then I came across one section that just I found so interesting and so important that I've actually spoken on this a few times before. And this has to do with the idea of the avatar. Now, what do we mean by avatar? If we look at the Vedantic tradition, we find there's a great variety of different beliefs that we have. If we look, Bhagavad Gita may be the earliest. And here there's no list of 10 avatars or anything like that. Only we hear Yuge Yuge. In every age, God will come and take human form. Now, what does it mean God will come? Does he leave heaven and come to earth and there's nobody up there? We don't think about these things very much. Huh? How do we understand this? In Christian tradition, they say Christ was the Son of God. Other religions will have special souls that are called prophets or religious founders or something. We all recognize that there are certain individuals that play a very special role, that have a special divine power, special divine mission, but how do we really understand them? What do we mean by avatar? So the Swamiji gives a very beautiful explanation of all of this. I'll read it first, some of it in Bengali, because it's so beautifully explained there. And then, of course, I'll go through the whole thing in English. Sri Ramakrishna avatar ki na e amader alocho bishoy noy. Now he starts out with a fantastic statement. Was Sri Ramakrishna an avatar? And then he says, amader alocho bishoy noy. Now what does that mean? Who can give me a good translation of that? Yes? It's not so important, okay? Good.
Simple English.
Anybody else? Alot think about? Or that we can think about? Or that we can really fully understand? Because it's not that he wants us to blindly accept something. What he's saying is that our ability to comprehend this phenomenon, which we call the avatar, our ability is very much limited. Now it'll make sense when we go on a little bit. তার কালে আলোচনা হতো এবং সে আলোচনা যাকে নিয়ে তিনি যেন নিতান্ত উদাসীন ভাবে এই আলোচনা শুনতেন বা দেখতেন. Thakur himself, when the Brahmani, Bhairavi Brahmani, she came, she was the first person to raise this issue. Somebody was asking the other day, did Thakur know that he was an avatar from his very birth? And we had a little discussion. Who will say yes, he knew from his very birth? Anyone? Who will say no? You have to say one or the other. Anyhow, what this is saying is that he wasn't very much interested in all of this. It was kind of a curiosity. My feeling is probably he never even asked this question. Whole mind was fixed on how to realize God. Not so much that am I a divine incarnation or not. Whole mind was fixed on that idea. Can I realize God? When he went through that period of divine madness, people thought he was insane. He had burning sensation all over his body. He couldn't sleep at night. He could hardly eat. Even they say sometimes blood would come from his pores. All of these signs of divine madness, everybody thought that he was going crazy. Even the people who loved him as much, even his family members. Then this Brahmani, this holy woman from East Bengal, she came, she saw him immediately. She said, no, these are signs of divine madness. Divya Unmad, divine madness, there's not any ordinary type of madness. This only is seen in very rare cases. We see it written about in the case of Radha and in the case of Chaitanya Deva. This is the third instance, she said, that we've seen ever in the history of the world. So she got all of the big pundits around, and they had a big meeting to determine. She made her case. She explained all of his experiences and everything, and physical signs that he had, all these signs of Bhava, Mahabhava, Prema, everything that Mahaprabhu had, and convinced all of them that he was an avatar. Thakur himself is sitting there just watching, as if they're talking about somebody else. It's very nice. Kokono tini kautuhali hoten, kokono upeko drishtite dekten. So he didn't care very much about all of this. But somebody would say that he was such a great avatar and everything. And he would say, Shekigo, Eresoboleki. So he himself didn't care about this question very much. Later, of course, this conviction grew upon him. And he realized his divine nature. Then he says, Taro onek pore Thakure Ingreji Sikhito Adhunik Bhaktara Jana Bodho Vitto Boleo Bonno Manno Bhakti. So he's talking now about some of his householder disciples. There's mostly Girish Chandra Ghosh and Ramchandra Datta, who was Swamiji's relative. They used to go around saying that Thakur was the avatar. His direct disciples, they kept quiet. And many of them were from Brahmo Samaj, and many of them had questions, Swamiji especially. Thakur tate birakti bodh koreche. Thakur would get annoyed with them. Ekdin bolchen, keo daktar, that means Ramchandra. He was actually a chemist. Keo theatari kore, that means Girish Chandra Ghosh. Or bole avatar, koto age bodo bodo panditora avatar bole giyechen. How many great pundits declared me a long time ago to be the avatar? Era, meaning these modern people. Avatar el bodhe ki je avatar kore. What did they understood? What do we understand? And then he says, Kotati tokon jama priyoto chilo ekono temni priyoto. Just as that was relevant in those days, even today this is relevant. How much do we understand? What does it mean to us? We say avatar. How can we comprehend? Thakur himself says, who can understand how the Lord himself comes down in human form that way? Amra jokon jor bolaye Thakurke avatar bole pradishthito korte chesta kori tokon ki bichar kore dekhi je amra avatare ki buchi. Do we stop and think? What do we really understand? We also will say all of these things. Thakur nije bolechen Vishwa Brahmande Niyonta Jini Tini Manasya Dhito Choddo Pava Manus Rupe Avatino Hon Ekota Ki Kalpana Kore Jai. Can we imagine? He who is the Lord of the whole creation that will come and make his presence in just an ordinary human-sized body that way. Then he tells a nice story about Devaki. Devaki, she is mother of Krishna, birth mother, and even she, when she's told that the Lord of the universe is coming to dwell within your womb and will be born as a child, then she says, how is this? And she tells the story that the Lord himself, at the time of Pralaya, when the universe completely disappears, the universe goes into just some seed form. Where does this universe reside at that time? In a single pore of the body of Narayana. So she says, if the whole entire universe is dwelling within a single pore of his body, that body must be so vast, how can that be in my womb? No. So, even she, it says, Tini abar amar garbhe ekti shishurupe abirbhuto holen eki kore vishwas hoy na. So even Devaki, she didn't have that faith that the Lord himself, because our concept is so limited, we don't really understand all of these things. Then he says a very strong statement. Erukom Jan Sarup Tar Avatarotter Pokke Otoba Bipokke Jokon Amra Alochana Kori. When we ourselves try to answer this big question that was Thakur an avatar, was he not an avatar, was he just a holy man, was he God realized soul? Tokon Tarche Morkota Porichoy or ki hobe. What greater foolishness could there be? That we would take ourselves to be so intelligent and so deeply sensitive to these spiritual ideas that we understand that we can say who is an avatar, who is not an avatar. Thakur nije tar sambandhe bari sundar kopito porno bhashaye bolechen. Okay, now this is, everyone please be clear, I'm not trying to say Thakur is not an avatar, we shouldn't look at him that way. But we should understand that our conception of it will be very much limited. Thakur gives us a very nice way of understanding this. This is a story that he used to tell. একরকম গাছ আছে, গাছের মতো দেখতে, ডাল পালা সব গাছের মতো. There's a certain type of tree. If we see it has twigs and leaves and branches like any other tree. কিন্তু সেই গাছকে গ্রামের কেউ চেনে না. But in this village no one recognizes it. No one has ever seen a tree like that. নাম দেয় অচিন গাছ. So they give it this name, অচিন গাছ. That means the গাছ that nobody knows, unrecognizable, something like that. কারণ তাকে অন্য গাছের শ্রেণীভুক্ত করা যায় না. It doesn't fit within the category. Every tree will have a certain category. One will be a fir tree, one will be deciduous, this and that. This doesn't fall within the category of any tree. We don't know where to place it. গাছটা আম, জাম, কাঁঠাল গাছ নয়. যত গাছের সঙ্গে তাদের পরিচয়, তাদের সঙ্গে একটি মেলে না. It just doesn't match with any other type of tree that we know. অথচ এটি তো একটি গাছ, but we know it's a tree. We know it's a tree, but we can't imagine what type of tree it is. কাজে তার আর নাম না পেয়ে বলে অচিন গাছ. So what else can we do? We say this is some tree that we can't give any explanation to. It looks like a tree, any other tree, but we don't find any other tree that it's similar to. So it's both the same and both different. So bhav hocche. Now we're starting to understand. Avatar jokhon deho dharan kore ache. When this avatar comes, takes a human body, tokhon manusher moto, just like any other human being. Janmo, mrityu, jara, vyadhi, sukh dukkha porjonto. They look like just us. They're born, they die, they get sick, they have good days, they have bad days. Thakur used to recite that line. Pancho bhute phade, vanmo pade khande. The Brahman himself, when he falls within the snares of the five elements, that means the human body. Even Brahman weeps. And he used to say, even Rama wept for Sita. So take all of the qualities of a human being. So, এবং মানুষের যত রকম ত্রুটি, অপূর্ণতা সব স্বীকার করে নিয়ে আসেন. All of the even imperfections and defects. Thakur himself, how many times he would get sick, and how many times, like an ordinary person, he would weep. If he didn't see Narendra for a few days, how he would weep for him. Sometimes we hear Birakto, he would get a little annoyed with somebody like that, just like an ordinary person. Kintu, but, this is the big but, tashotteo, despite all of this, যখন অন্য মানুষের সঙ্গে বিচার করে আমরা তাকে জানতে চাই, when we try to compare him to anybody else, তখন দেখি, then we see, আমাদের বিচারে মাপ কাঠির দ্বারা যেন তাকে পরিমাপ করে যায় না. We cannot measure him with our own measuring stick. This is the problem. Thakur used to say that when somebody would make a big statement about somebody, you'd say, but you're measuring with your own measuring stick. That means with our limited intelligence, we're trying to measure the infinite. With its small little ruler, we're trying to measure the infinite that way. Amra avatarke bujhte pari na. We're not really able to understand who is this avatar. Shuddhu eituku buchi. And this little bit we understand, this little bit is enough. Tini amaderi moto. That he seems to be like us. Thakur didn't come with 4 arms, with 10 heads, nothing like that. He looked like an ordinary human being. Amader moto kintu. Abar, amader teki tar oshesh paritokko. The difference between him and us is infinite. Oshesh. We can never compare ourselves. These are off the charts. We have little waves that come, and then we have a tsunami. Can we compare the little wave to a tsunami? We'll call the tsunami a wave also, but it's so different that we can't imagine that they belong to the same category. If we understand this little bit, that they look like ordinary human beings, but they're so different. different? How is Ma different from us? Spiritual power, spiritual realizations, sadhana, how many 12 years of sadhana Thakur performed, so many different realizations from different traditions, the ability to raise someone's spiritual consciousness, just he would wave his hand, the kundalini would go up. Who can do that? So this spiritual power, within a short period, this movement is spread throughout the whole world. This tremendous spiritual power behind everything that he did is something unheard of. We only see it in the case of Buddha, Christ, a handful of others. Really, and we're just seeing the very beginning of what Thakur and Ma did, what they brought to the world. So, what he's saying is that if we understand this much, then we don't have to worry about these other big questions too much. Swamiji himself fought with Swami Krishna. You know, in the beginning, he didn't accept, not that he didn't accept Thakur as an avatar, he didn't accept the idea of avatar. It's not that he said, yes, I believe Krishna was an avatar, but you're not. It wasn't like that. He was Western educated, he was a member of the Brahmo Samaj, they didn't care for this idea of avatar. That was the main thing. So, it took Swamiji a long time before he was comfortable with this idea of avatar and recognized Thakur's avatar. And then, of course, the day came when he said, Avatar Varishta, greatest of all avatars. So, Swamiji's view kept changing and changing. So, Swami Bhudeshanabhiraj is talking about Swamiji. Swamiji, তখন শ্রীরামকৃষ্ণকে হয়তো অবতার বলে সম্পূর্ণ রূপে অন্তরের সঙ্গে গ্রহণ করেনি. He didn't fully accept at that time that Thakur was an avatar. So দ্বন্দ্ব চলছে. He had doubts in his mind. Then one day a conversation came with, you know, Dr. Mahendralal Sarkar. He was also a great skeptic. He loved Sri Ramakrishna, but he didn't like this idea, everybody touching his feet and making a big fuss and calling him the avatar. So, Swamiji tried to explain why they had such reference for Sri Ramakrishna. He said, Amra Taki Ishwar Boli na, Dev Mano Boli. We don't call him God. We call him a God-man. Something half and half. Karon, Amra Amade Buddhi diye Taki Dhote kiye, Nagre Modhe, যখন পাই না তখন বলি তিনি মানুষ নন. When we try to compare him with anybody else, then we find that he's not an ordinary human being. কাজেই তাকে দেব মানব বলি. So we call him something in between, half man, half God, something like that. Now, Swami Bhudeshanandaji Maharaj says, যেন একটু আপোষ করে কথাটা বলা হচ্ছে. Swamiji is a little bit compromising. He didn't fully accept him at that time. Swamiji তখন সম্পূর্ণভাবে শ্রী রামকৃষ্ণকে অবতার বলে স্বীকার করেননি. It wasn't until much later. Now we'll get this story, of course, a very famous story. স্বীকার যে করেননি ঠাকুরের প্রতিদান আচরণ দেখে তা বোঝা যায়. Those who don't really accept someone in a certain way, we can tell. It's not just what they say, but the way they behave towards them. ঠাকুরের দেহ ত্যাগের আগে তিনি যখন অসহ্য যন্ত্রণা কষ্ট, few days before Thakur passed away, he had unbearable pain. Swamiji used to sit by his side every day. He would call him there, just the two of them. He would give Swamiji different instructions. Even when he was unable to speak, you know, he wrote down, you will teach people. So I said, no, I won't. He said, yes, you'll have to. Your very bones will make you do it. So he gave all sorts of instructions. So one day, Swamiji's there, and he sees Thakur in tremendous pain, and his body is wasted away to almost nothing, just like any ordinary human being. And he thought to himself, if in this condition now he can declare himself to be an avatar, then only will I accept it. Now, Thakur, he used to say that he could look into a person's heart the way we can look into a glass case and see all the dishes and cups and everything inside. So Thakur knew. He knew what Swamiji was thinking. And he said, oh, my Naren. He said, Ekono obishas. Even now you don't have that faith. Jai Ram, Jai Krishna, Jai Idanim, Ram Krishna. He who was Rama, he was Krishna, is now Sri Ramakrishna. But, Tobe, Tor Vedante Dik Diye Noi. Now, what does this mean? Not in your Vedantic sense. Vedantic sense, I'm also Rama, I'm also Krishna. The Lord himself dwells within all beings equally. Each one of us can claim that I am that Supreme Brahman. Soham, Soham. Everything, no. Not in that sense. In a very special sense. That soul who was born as Krishna, as Rama, now is taking birth. Not through any past karma, not for any selfish reason, for no reason other than the welfare of humanity, has taken birth now as Ramakrishna. বললেন এবং নিঃসন্দিগ্ধ ভাবে প্রতিষ্ঠিত করলেন, কিন্তু আমরা কি বুঝি? Even now, will we understand? Now, so he says, আমরা আপোষ করি বলবো. And we'll also say, compromising, আচ্ছা, তিনি নিজে যখন বলছেন, তখন মেনে নিতে হবে. Since he himself said it, we have to accept it. কিন্তু অন্তরের সঙ্গে মেনে নেওয়া বড় কঠিন. But to really understand deep within the heart what these words mean is not such a simple thing. Now, he'll get to this very important point, that whether we understand who is an avatar, what an avatar means, that somehow will be a little bit secondary. Avatar ke buchi na bote. Oh, so let's admit, we don't really understand how Lord of the universe comes in human form. Kintu, but, taake jivane prashtha kutte jedi chesta na kore. If we don't try to take these great souls and let them be guiding principle for us, তাহলে then, তাঁর অবতার হয়ে আসা যে ব্যর্থ হয়ে যায়, then they've come in vain. They don't come so that we can bow down and wave a flower and incense in front of them. They don't come for that reason. That we have to find out why they came, what their teaching was, and how to incorporate it into our lives. Buchi or na buchi, whether we understand or not, taki jivaner adorsha rupe pratishthito korte amra chesta kochi. This is the most important part. Do we care only for the messenger or for the message? Adorsha. What does adorsha mean? When we say spiritual ideal, what do we mean to have an ideal? We don't simply accept something as true, but we mold our lives according to it. We have to, if we think that the person speaking it is true, and what is said is true, then we have to try to follow it, put it into practice in our lives. Thakur so many times would say, somebody would make some statement, he would say, dharana chai, dharana korte hobe. You have to assimilate it. You have to make it part of your very life. এই চেষ্টা যদি আন্তরিকভাবে করা হয়, তাহলে জীবনের সার্থকতা. If very sincerely we can take the ideal that we find in the lives of Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother, and we can incorporate that into our lives will be blessed. This is very important. এই চেষ্টা যদি আন্তরিকভাবে, we have to be very sincere. করা হয়, তাহলে জীবনের সার্থকতা. Then our lives will be fulfilled, they'll be blessed. আমরা যারা শ্রী রামকৃষ্ণকে আদর্শ বলে গ্রহণ করতে চেষ্টা করছি. So those of us who want to make Thakur and Ma our ideal in life, so that we mold our lives according to them. Anshik holeo, even if we can only do it a little bit. None of us can do it 100%, it's impossible. An ideal means that we strive to realize it. We know that we can never realize it fully. The ideal is something that's almost theoretical, we can say. But to our best of our ability, we try. Antik holeo, এই চেষ্টা তখনই সার্থক হবে যখন আন্তরিকভাবে তাকে আমাদের আদর্শ রূপে হৃদয় প্রতিষ্ঠিত করতে পারব. This will be, it's not a question question of how much we do it, but can we establish that within our hearts as our goal of life, as our ideal in life? Amra Sri Ramakrishna ke bujhte pari ba na pari, whether we can understand Sri Ramakrishna or not. Bojar cheshta kintu kora dorkar. Now, the beginning we started out with, there's not too much value in thinking we can understand this meaning of avatar. But we shouldn't just say that Thakur came and that we shouldn't try to understand the reason for his coming and his teaching. This we have to do. We have to do. We think bhakti that will simply bow down before Thakur and Holy Mother and not worry about what their real teaching was. We're missing the whole point. Taake kebal bhabaluto sahajye ishwar bole ishto bole grohan korle joteshto hobe na. It's not enough to simply say, how wonderful that God came in human form and we have your photo, we bow down before them, all of that. Joteshto hobe na. She ishto ke janbaro cheshta kote hobe. We have to try to find out who they were. Not this avatar question exactly, but what is the source of that joy that they had? Why did they want us to strive to realize God? Why did they want us to see God in all beings? Why did Holy Mother want us to practice titiksha, that forbearance, so that we can put up with anything? Why did she want us to feel that everyone is our own? These things we have to think about. Ekjon bhakto Sri Ramakrishna ke bolchen. One devotee once asked Sri Ramakrishna, Ami gyan chai na, shuddha bhakti chai. Now usually Thakur said, yes, pure devotion is the only thing necessary. But this time he said no. He said that you don't want any knowledge, you only want devotion. Thakur heshe bolchen. Then he laughed. He smiled and said, Jake bhakti korbi, take na bujhle, ki kori bhakti korbi? You want to have love for God, you don't even know who this God is, you have no concept. And how can you have devotion and love if you don't know who it is that you want to have love for? Jake bhakti korbe, take buddhi diye jotugo sambhav kote chesta kote. As far as possible with this limited intellect, we have to at least try to understand that who were these divine souls? Suppose God comes in human form and does nothing, gives no teachings, does no spiritual practice. How does it help us? We can be very fanatical and say, God came in human form, that we worship that God, will go to heaven. We can do that. In Christianity, some people really believe that. All you have to do is accept that Christ was Son of God and you're saved. We won't say that. If we accept that Thakur Ma, that they came for some divine purpose, then we have to understand why they came and how we can follow their teachings. Therefore, so after we've tried to understand to the best of our ability what this ideal was, তারপর সেই আদর্শকে ভক্তি করব. We don't simply have devotion for Thakur and Ma, we have devotion for the ideal that they stand for. We can have bhakti not just for a person. We can have great love for this spiritual practice. We can have bhakti for sadhana. We can have great devotion for our spiritual practice and for the spiritual ideal. মানে আমাদের জ্ঞাত সারা বা অজ্ঞাত সারা, whether we know it or not, জীবনকে সেইভাবে রূপায়িত করব. Our lives will be transformed. We won't always notice when we think about Thakur Ma, when we meditate on them. We don't simply repeat the name and try to picture the image. We try to feel their divine presence. If we meditate on Holy Mother, and we don't think about Holy Mother's love for everyone and her universal motherhood, then who are we meditating on? Simply a name and a form. We have to have that divine personality there. If we meditate and we worship and fix the mind, Monon Shoran, fix the mind on this wonderful divine personality of a Holy Mother, how she loved everyone equally as her own child, transformation will take place, and we'll find ourselves also catching a bit of that love for all beings, feeling oneness for everyone. This is one of the reasons why we practice meditation. This concept of transference, these divine qualities that they have will come to us. Thakur says, just as a child is heir to the throne of the father, to the riches, the inheritance is due to him. All we have to do is fix the mind, Thakur Ma, and these divine qualities will come to us. Sri Ramakrishna এই বিষয়ে তাঁর স্পষ্ট নির্দেশ দিয়ে গিয়েছেন। তিনি বলেছেন, ছাঁচতই হয়ে রইল নিজ নিজ জীবনকে সেই ছাঁচে ঢেলে গড়ে নেই। So this is the key to the whole thing. We may not understand exactly how the avatar comes. This is beyond our ability to comprehend. We see Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother. Two divine souls have come that we can't compare them to anyone that we've ever seen. And they came with not a single selfish motive. And they left behind an ideal for us. And Thakur said this ideal they left behind is like a mold. When they make jewelry out of gold, they melt the gold down, they'll pour it into this mold, they'll let it cool, and it'll come out in that shape. This is what we're supposed to do. Now, first we melt ourselves. What does that mean? All of our own bad habits, our own samskaras, our bad tendencies, all of that, we try to melt them down and recreate ourselves, transform ourselves, so that we come out in the mold of Thakur, the mold of Holy Mother. This is the whole concept of this ideal, this adarsha. Anyhow, this is the gist of this lecture. I found it to be so very, very helpful. Sometimes we wonder, do we really understand the avatar? Do we accept Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, as the avatar? If we don't, is it something terrible? Are we lacking in faith? We shouldn't think like that at all. All we have to know is that these two great souls came to the earth. I never think of Thakur and Holy Mother separately. They're Jugamurti. They came together. That they came with no possible reason for their birth other than to give us this shining example of how to live in this world and what the ultimate goal of life is, and to bring a message suited for this present age, a message that can unite the whole world through the harmony of religions and can give us something to hold on to. Thakur said an ideal, it's like a post. If we spin around and have nothing to hold on to, we'll fall down. If we have a post to hold on to, then we'll always be secure. So this is that adarsha, this is that ideal. And in Christianity, Christ, of course, is that ideal, but Christ has to be taken along with his message. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Every avatar like that. Thakur Ma, Swamiji, the direct disciples, they came only to leave this ideal for us. It's our job, not simply to look upon them as divine, to worship them and everything, but to try to put that ideal into life and to make our lives blessed. So I will stop here. If anybody would like to say anything or ask any questions, we can do that.
Jagat Janani,
Yes.
Vishwamata,
Yes.
Mahamaya, different name. Once a mother was going from Kamakutu to Dakshineshwar, then one dacoits or robbers caught her. And mother showed her as a Ma Kali. When the dacoits reached to Dakshineshwar, some devotee asked, the dacoits family explained to some devotee, we saw Holy Mother is a Ma Kali. Asked again, Mother, don't please silent. Answer. You show them as a Ma Kali. Then Mother indirectly answered that question. I don't know what they saw. But ask them what they saw. I don't know. Indirectly Mother was agreed. But now my question is, Holy Mother was the avatar or incarnation of Ma Kali?
Yeah. When we look at Holy Mother herself, and especially what Thakur said about her, that there were times when he said, Mother, that she loves jewelry. Why? She's Lakshmi herself. Huh? She came to give knowledge. Why? She's Saraswati. Huh? Then he saw her as Sita, and Holy Mother when she went to Rameshwaram. Then she felt identified with Sita. We don't make a big distinction. This is all the Shakti, all different manifestations of the divine power. So if we accept that Holy Mother, Sri Ramakrishna came together, like Agni and Dahiga Shakti, fire and power to burn that way, then she can reveal herself in any form of the Divine Mother. Not that we limit her, that she was Mother Kali, she was Jagadhati, that she can appear in any form, anyone that way. Now, the other thing is, how do we really understand these things? I think most of you know what happened in Rameshwaram. That Holy Mother was taken to the inner shrine, Garbha Mandir, where the original Shiva Lingam is there that was supposed to have been made by Sita out of sand on the beach. So Holy Mother was there and she saw it, and there's a little covering that they removed, and as soon as the covering removed, she said, just as I remember it was when I made it. She said something like that. Then everyone else was shocked. And they said, Mother, what did you say? And she said, oh, it was nothing, I didn't mean it, something escaped my lips. Now, how do we understand that? Do we take this as a historical incident? Holy Mother was, her ability to go into samadhi and be one with the Divine Mother of the universe was so great that at that time she felt herself completely identified with Sita. We can understand it in different ways. There's no simple explanation for these things. Even Holy Mother, did she reveal herself as Mother Kali to the dacoit, or did she allow him to see her that way because he was a bhakta of Mother Kali? So how much is objective, how much is subjective, that is very difficult to determine. But the fact that he could recognize her, and the fact that she has such purity that she could be seen that way, that's enough for us. Some people will say very literally, no, she was Mother Kali. But what do we mean by that? What did Thakur mean by Mother Kali? He said to Naren that, Narendra, what you call Brahman, I call Kali. His concept of Mother Kali was not limited to forearms, Varava, and all of that. It was Brahman together with its Shakti. That was his understanding of Mother Kali. So this is exactly what he's saying, that we're trying to understand these things with our very small intellect. So we do the best we can. We recognize the fact that yes, this will only take place with the Divine Personality. But how exactly and what does it really mean? That's really difficult to say. So he used to say, can you pour 5 seers of milk into a 1-seer pot? Can't be done. We're trying to take this infinite and with all of this Vaicitra, all of these different varieties of divine manifestations and understand it through our very limited small intellect. So it's very hard to say. Then it becomes a question of faith. If we want to say yes, I believe Holy Mother was a Mother Kali, fine. Those who have that type of faith are very fortunate. Those who are more intellectual and they'll say, let me try to understand, maybe she cast a spell on him, maybe because he was a Kali Bhakta, he had that vision, somebody else would have seen her as Sita. Quite possible that if the dacoit had been a Ram Bhakta, he could have seen her as Sita. Does that mean she revealed herself as Sita, or he saw her as Sita, revealed herself as Kali? We can't answer these things very clearly. But these are signs to us that she was not an ordinary person.
Yes.
Yeah. Or Chingach.
Yes.
Maharaj, we'll have an Anjali. Before that, one quick announcement.